We're going to install a plug-and-play remote starting system on a 2019 Chevy Spark manual transmission. Our system uses the RFK 411 one-way long-range remotes, and this vehicle does not have a OEM keyless entry. This video can be used on all GM manual transmission installations using the GM7 harness. We're going to remove the 7mm screws from the bottom of the dash. We're going to remove the side panel. We're going to remove the 7mm. We're going to remove the lower dash. Pull the red clips back and release the plugs from the switches. Release the fuse box by pushing back on the clips on both sides. Slide the fuse box out. Try not to push it up against any metal and just let it sit there. We're going to install our T-harness at the vehicle's BCM. We will be working with the white plug, the blue plug, and the green plug. We're going to plug our white, blue, and green plug into the BCM, and then we're going to plug in the plugs that we removed from the BCM in the ends of our T-harness that accept the BCM plugs. Press the release clip to remove the plug. We're going to plug our white, blue, and green plugs into the spots on the BCM. Now we're going to plug our corresponding BCM plugs into our T-harness plugs. We're going to plug our green, our white, and we're going to plug in our blue plug. Our BCM interruption plugs are installed. We're going to move to the next step. We're going to locate our clutch safety switch. We're going to slide the gray lock clip back and unplug the plug. There's a release clip on the inside. Here's a better picture of the plug. When you slide the gray piece back, there's a release clip located right here. Press the release clip and slide the plug off. We're going to remove some tape to expose the yellow wire located at the center pin. We're going to make a connection at the yellow wire for the clutch bypass. We're going to use a posi-tap connector to make this connection. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unscrew the connector. We're going to put this groove around our target wire, and then we're going to screw the connector back together. The pin will pierce the wire, providing a connection point. So we're going ahead and we're going to apply the posi-tap. We're going to stay back away from the plug a few inches, and we're going to be careful not to cross thread the tap when we reinstall it on the wire. I'm going to unband our clutch wire on our T-harness, and I'm going to route it to the posi-tap connector, being careful not to route it around anything that's going to be turning or moving so that our wire doesn't get pulled on or tangled up. Making the posi-tap connection, we want to strip about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch of insulation from our wire. When making our wire connection to the posi-tap, we're going to loosen the collar on the end of the posi-tap, approximately 1 to 1.5 turns. We're going to take the wire that we stripped 1/4 of an inch off, and we're going to insert it into the end of the posi-tap. We're going to make sure that none of the strands miss the opening. I'm going to push the wire in. You'll feel it bottom out. Push it in a little bit more and then tighten the collar. You can do a pull test to make sure you have a good bite. Plug the clutch safety switch back in after making the connection. We're going to pair our module to the vehicle. We're going to start by locating the program button on the top of the module. We're going to hold the program button while we insert the 4-pin data connector into the device. When we do this, the 3 LEDs are going to begin to cycle different colors. We want to release when we have a solid yellow light. When the center yellow light illuminates, let up on the button. If you make a mistake, you can repeat the procedure. We're going to go ahead, being very careful not to touch the button again, plug in the remaining connectors on our device. We're going to plug in our 20-pin plug. We're going to plug our 6-pin plug in. We're going to plug our red plug in on the back of our device, or the top. We're going to plug our small white plug into the device. With the yellow light lit solid, we're going to press and release the program button 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The yellow light's going to flash. We're going to wait for it to go solid. When the yellow light goes solid, we're going to place the key in the ignition and turn the ignition to the run position. When we do this, the yellow light will go out, the red light will turn on. We're now going to shut the key off and remove it for the ignition. We're going to wait 5 seconds. We're going to place the key back in the ignition, turn the key to the run position. The module is going to flash out its programming sequence, just as you're seeing. When the module flashes fast blue, we're going to shut the key off and remove it from the ignition. The blue light will blink slow. The module is ready to be connected to the computer for decryption. Remove all the plugs from the module. I'm going to remove the 6-pin, the 20-pin, the red plug, the white plug, and last we're going to remove the data plug. We have the FlashLink Manager up and running on our Windows 10 PC. We're going to connect our module to either our FlashLink Lite or our FlashLink 4 programmer. If you need information on where and how to download the FlashLink Manager, check the link in the description. I'm going to plug into the 4-pin data port. The module is going to open up a screen on the FlashLink Manager that looks exactly like this. If your screen does not look like this, stop what you're doing, go to the gear cog in the upper right hand corner, click the gear cog and select Pro Mode. You'll be prompted to continue to Pro Mode. When you're in Pro Mode, you're going to see a screen that looks exactly like this. Don't worry about the vehicle exactly matching, just has to use the same firmware. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click the Decryptor tab. You scroll down and click the Send Data tab. We're going to wait. Our module is now being decrypted. The key data will be decrypted and loaded back on the module. The decryption process is completing. A mobilizer bypass key code is now being sent to the unit. We're going to disconnect the module and return to the vehicle. At this point, we're going to plug in our RF antenna kit. Our RF antenna kits are paired to the module before they're shipped. So we're just going to go ahead and plug the antenna into the blue port on the Evo. We're using the RFK 411 small single button remotes. They're capable of locking, unlocking, and starting the vehicle. Manual transmission remote starting with this system requires that a setup procedure be performed each time you shut the vehicle off in order to perform a successful remote start. So with the engine running and all the doors closed, we want to press and hold the brake pedal to the vehicle. We want to make sure we're in neutral. We want to set the parking brake, release the brake pedal. You'll hear a click. In this case, my door unlocked. We'll now shut the key off, remove it from the ignition. Now, we don't want to touch the brake pedal or release the emergency brake, or the car will shut off and we would have to repeat the procedure. We will now get all our things out of the vehicle that we need, get them together, because we're going to exit the vehicle. We're not going to be able to come back into the vehicle from the time we leave it and the time we want to remote start it. So I'm going to exit the vehicle with my things. Now I've exited the vehicle. I'm outside the vehicle. I'm going to lock the doors with my single button remote. I'm going to press one time and release. The doors are going to lock and the engine is going to shut off. After locking the doors, the engine has shut down. We can now do a safe remote start. Keep in mind, we cannot open the doors of the vehicle or we would have to repeat the procedure from the beginning. I'm going to start the vehicle by pressing and holding the single button on my remote. I'm going to hold it for about 3 to 4 seconds. Parking lights on the vehicle will turn on, the engine will start, the vehicle will run for 15 minutes. We would now enter the running vehicle by unlocking the doors, pressing our button 2 times. Doors will unlock. We will get in the vehicle without stepping on the brake pedal. We'll go ahead and we'll place the key in the ignition. Turn the key to the run position. Don't worry about going too far because the vehicle won't crank. Once the key's in the run position, we're going to press the brake pedal. The remote starter is going to turn off. The car is now running on the key. You can go ahead and drive the vehicle. If you've performed the manual transmission shutdown procedure but have opened the doors anytime afterwards and you try to remote start the vehicle, you will get an error code. The engine will fail to start and you must repeat the manual transmission shutdown procedure. Vehicles that do not have OnStar will require lock and unlock connections. The connections are made at the BCM. Use the diagram to locate the wires at the pins to make the lock and unlock connections. The orientation of the plug is looking at the plug from the back where the wires enter. If the vehicle is not equipped with OnStar, the lock and unlock connections will be located on the pink and the gray plug at the BCM. To install the RF antenna kit, peel the protective coating off the 2-sided tape on the back of the antenna. Clean the windshield. Stick the antenna about 1 inch down from the top of the headliner. We're going to get our fingers underneath the headliner a little bit. We're not going to pull down hard. We're going to put the wire up underneath the headliner. We're going to run the wire over to the A pillar, and then we'll use our plastic tool to make a gap in the side trim of the A pillar to get the antenna wire in. Remove the door gasket. Run the wire down to the device underneath the dash. We're going to zip up our equipment and reassemble the vehicle. Here's a few tips on the module zip up. So you're going to want to push your plugs over to the side so we can clip the fuse box back in. If you look at the picture, I've moved them to the side of the BCM so that we can easily pop the fuse box back in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pop the fuse box back in. As you can see, it'll fit comfortably. If you don't move the plugs over to the side, there isn't enough room between the BCM and the back of the fuse box for all of the plugs. We're prepping the module for zip up. I've run my wires down underneath the fuse box, and I've consolidated the harnesses into one pigtail. I've also banded up the excess antenna wire. I did disconnect my clutch override wire, which I'm going to reroute and connect after I zip up the unit. So I'm going to zip the unit up to the side of the dash. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the module in place. I'm going to put the harness pack right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply my zips. So you don't want to put zips through the holes where the clips on the side panel go, but there are other holes that you can use for the zips. I'm going to give you a shot after I zip it up. So holding the module here, I'm going to pass a 14-inch zip through the gap in the module, the mounting gap, and I'm going to bring it back through on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zip the module and cut off the excess. So here's what it looks like with it zipped up, and we've only used 3 zip ties and we've kept everything very neat. If you look around, I have the single zip tie coming around here. Now I am going to route my clutch override wire back to the clutch switch and connect it. After that, I will be able to reassemble the vehicle. Here's an example of the clutch override switch wire routing, so you don't have to go up over the top of the clutch. And in this spot, there's nothing that's going to touch it. We're far away from the column. In the picture it looks closer, but we should be okay with this routing.